Welcome to day 85 of 365. This study will upload on March the 27th at 5 p.m. Yesterday, we read about clean and unclean animals for eating. You can eat a chicken, but you can't eat a buzzard. You can eat salmon because it has scales and fins, but you can eat shark or shellfish because it has neither scales nor fins. Clean and unclean represented health, of course. There were reasons to not eat pork back in those days. You couldn't eat a pig because although it had a cloven hoof, it did not chew the cud. But you could eat a cow because it has a cloven hoof and chews the cud. It was so much easier to store beef back then than it was to store pork. And you could get diseases from pork. So there were health reasons for those laws, but they were also symbolic. Sin and doing good. It is good to eat a chicken and to slaughter it in a humane way. It is bad to eat a buzzard of any sort, a carrion bird that would include an eagle. And the symbolism of that is always to keep in the forefront that God despises sin. Today, we have an easy reading. We're going to read Leviticus 13 as it deals with leprosy. And it's going to be the same thing. There are health reasons for the laws set down here, removing people with certain bacterias and funguses from amongst the other people. Number one, they didn't have antibiotics. I'm sure they were making Jewish penicillin, though. I'm sure they were making chicken soup. That's probably as old as time, correct? However, so for health reasons, but it's also symbolic of sin. So while God is protecting them from disease, He's also keeping in the forefront of their minds and hearts how sin separates you from God. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when a person has on the skin of his body a swelling or an eruption or a spot, and it turns into a case of leprous disease on the skin of his body, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons and priests. And the priest shall examine the diseased area on the skin of his body. And if the hair in the diseased area has turned white, and the disease appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a case of leprous disease. In this case, not everything that they are calling leprosy is actual leprosy. Some of it is a staph boil. Some of it is impetigo. If you had any medical background, you might be able to sort it all out in here. But the bottom line is these are funguses or bacterias that could infect the skin. Verse 4, but if the spot is white in the skin of his body and appears no deeper than the skin, and the hair it has not turned white, the priest shall shut up the diseased person for 7 days, and the priest shall examine him on the 7th day. And if in his eyes the disease is checked, and the disease has not spread in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up for another 7 days. And the priest shall examine him again on the 7th day. And if the diseased area has faded, and the disease has not spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only an eruption, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the eruption spreads in the skin after he has shown himself to the priest, for his cleansing, he shall appear again before the priest, and the priest shall look. And if the eruption has spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous disease. That is, it is some sort of bacteria or fungus that is contagious. When a man is afflicted with a leprous disease, he shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall look. And if there is a white swelling in the skin that has turned the hair white, and there is raw flesh in the swelling, it is a chronic leprous disease in the skin of his body, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if the leprous disease breaks out in the skin, so that the leprous disease covers all of the skin of the diseased person from head to foot, so far as the priest can see, then the priest shall look, And if the leprous disease has covered all his body, he shall pronounce him clean of the disease. It has all turned white, and he is clean. But when raw flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. Raw flesh is unclean, for it is a leprous disease. But if the raw flesh recovers and turns white again, then he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. And if the disease has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce the diseased person clean. He is clean. If there is in the skin of one's body a boil, and it heals, and in the place of the boil there comes a white swelling or a reddish white spot, then it shall be shown to the priest, and the priest shall look, and if it appears deeper than the skin, and his hair has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease that has broken out in the boil. This could either be leprosy or it could be a staph infection under the skin that's reaching a boil. And they didn't have triple antibiotic cream. But if the priest examines it and there is no white hair in it, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And if it spreads in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a disease. But if the spot remains in one place and does not spread, it is the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. And when the body has burned on its skin, and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a spot, reddish white or white, the priest shall examine it. And if the hair in the spot has turned white, and it appears deeper than the skin, then it is a leprous disease. It has broken out in the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease. But if the priest examines it, and there is no white hair in the spot, and it is no deeper than the skin, but has faded, the priest shall shut him up 7 days, and the priest shall examine him the 7th day. If it is spreading in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease. But if the spot remains in one place and does not spread in the skin, but has faded, it is a swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is the scar of the burn. I think any nurse would understand that if you burned your skin, especially back in the day when there was no triple antibiotic ointment to put on it, you could get a secondary bacterial infection from the open wound of a burn. And they understand this. They may not know the exact bacteria, but God is letting them know that it would require watching. When a man or a woman has a disease on the head or the beard, the priest shall examine the disease. And if it appears deeper than the skin, and the hair in it is yellow and thin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an itch, a leprous disease of the head or the beard. And if the priest examines the itching disease, and it appears no deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up the person with the itching disease for 7 days. And on the 7th day, the priest shall examine the disease. If the itch has not spread, and there is in it no yellow hair, and the itch appears to be no deeper than the skin, then he shall shave himself. But the itch he shall not shave, and the priest shall shut up the person with the itching disease for another 7 days. This person could have definitely a fungus on the skin under the beard. He could also have mites or lice, and it still would require quarantine. And on the 7th day, the priest shall examine the itch. And if the itch has not spread in the skin, and it appears to be no deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. And he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the itch spreads in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall examine him. And if the itch has spread in the skin, the priest need not seek for the yellow hair. He is unclean. But if in his eyes the itch is unchanged, and the black hair is grown in it, the itch is healed, and he is clean. And the priest shall pronounce him clean. Black hair meaning their normal hair. It hasn't turned color because the root was damaged by whatever this infection is. And because these are ancient Jewish men, they very most likely have very dark hair or black hair. When a man or a woman has spots on the skin of the body, white spots, the priest shall look, and if the white spots on the skin of the body are a dull white, it is a leukoderma that has broken out in the skin. He is clean. But it doesn't really matter whether it's leprosy or staph. They are quarantining for contagions. And also, God is using this as a lesson for sin and how it separates you. And remember that all of these bad bacteria in the world are a result of the deception by Satan in the Garden of Eden. It put a curse upon the earth. If that hadn't happened, we'd only have good. If a man's hair falls out from his head and he is bald, he is clean. And if a man's hair falls out from his forehead, he has baldness of the forehead. He is clean. But if there is on the bald head or the bald forehead a reddish white diseased area, it is a leprous disease breaking out on the bald head or his bald forehead. So they're saying you could lose your hair and it could be for no reason whatsoever, or you could lose your hair due to a disease. We know that it could be psoriasis, which is not contagious, but however, let's read on. But it could also be a fungal infection or a bacteria. Then the priest shall examine him, and if the diseased swelling is reddish white on his bald head or on his bald forehead, like the appearance of a leprous disease in the skin of the body, he is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest must pronounce him unclean. His disease is on his head. The leprous person who has the disease shall wear torn clothes and let the hair of his head hang loose, and he shall cover his upper lip and cry out, unclean, unclean, so that nobody approaches him. This would be for actual leprosy. If it's a psoriasis, and there probably wasn't a whole lot of psoriasis back then, these autoimmune diseases that we have, I am convinced they are because we're nearing the end of the Earth's age or the Earth's longevity after the fall of man, and it was put under a curse. That's my opinion. I don't have the scientific information to back it up, but these things are on the rise, and there's really no reason for it, other reason for it. He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. When there is a case of leprous disease in a garment, whether a woolen or a linen garment, in warp or woof of linen or wool, or in skin or in anything made of skin, if the disease is greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the skin, or in the warp of the woof, or in any article made of the skin, it is a case of leprous disease, and it shall be shown to the priest. So you could have molds and even leprosy in fabric, wool especially, and obviously in skins as well. And the priest shall examine the disease and shut up that which has the disease for 7 days. Then he shall examine the disease on the 7th day. If the disease has spread in the garment, in the warp and the woof, or in the skin, whatever be the use of the skin, the disease is a persistent leprous disease. It is unclean. And he shall burn the garment, or the warp, or the woof, and the wool, or the linen, or any article made of skin that is diseased, for it is a persistent leprous disease. It shall be burned in the fire. And if the priest examines, and if the disease has not spread in the garment, in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of the skin, I believe the warp and the woof is the way it's woven. So if they used threads that had a mildew, and they used those threads all in the warp going one way, and then they used different threads in the woof, then you might only see it in the threads going in one way. Not that we need to understand that for our faith, but in case you're wondering. Then the priest shall command that they wash the thing in which is the disease, and he shall shut it up for another 7 days. And the priest shall examine the diseased thing after it has been washed. And if the appearance of the diseased area has not changed, Though the disease has not spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it in the fire, whether the rot is on the back or on the front. But if the priest examines, and if the diseased area has faded after it has been washed, he shall tear it out of the garment, or the skin, or the warp, or the woof. Then, if it appears again in the garment, in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, it is spreading. You shall burn with fire whatever has the disease. But the garment, or the warp, or the woof, or any article made of skin from which the disease departs when you have washed it, shall then be washed a second time and be clean. This is the law for a case of leprous disease in a garment of wool or linen, either in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, to determine whether it is clean or unclean. And that concludes what we're reading today. I think you'll forgive me if I don't upload graphic images. And also keep in mind, please, that these are safety measures for health reasons. They also are reminiscent of sin in our lives. When it appears in our lives, it rots our relationship with God and quarantines us from God, so to speak. And how difficult this world is to live in under the curse because of the deception of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. He did this to us. We all would have failed just the way Adam and Eve did. And we're waiting for Jesus Christ to come back and bring the world to come. Thank you for reading scripture with me today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow.